Have you realized that your career is actually a 40-year voyage? And if you're like me, well, you're probably only halfway through it. How then can you make the rest of your journey even more meaningful? We all change over time. What was important to us 10 years ago, like maybe money, job titles, may not be our top priority today. In fact, would what we enjoy today be of any value to us 10 years from now? So, are we chasing our current dreams at the expense of future goals? We need to review our past, reflect upon our present, and then create the future we want. We need to examine how things like financial security, career satisfaction, personal relationships factor into our life and how it should drive our career strategy.
So, instead of blindly putting in the hours of hard work every day, come, find out how you can achieve lasting career success and learn how to live a meaningful life through your career. Click the link to find out now.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone on LinkedIn and wherever you are in the world. Hi, my name is Adrian Chu, and I'm the CEO founder of Career Agility International. And yeah, your mic is off again. Click.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Happy to be here. And good morning, everyone. My name is Yen, and I'm the other career strategist. And very happy for you to join us this Friday morning. And as you can tell, I have to have my coffee.
Yeah, you're at your fourth cup now, right?
No. But yeah, thank you for pointing out my mic was on mute.
Okay, no, it happens all the time. In fact, it's almost like every conference call, every Zoom call you go on nowadays is like, and they're like, "Hey, your mic is off," and then you go, "Oh yes," click. So maybe we should have an automatic mic which shuts off telepathically.
That'd be a good idea.
But anyway, welcome everyone. For those of you who may not be familiar with us, or if you're just tuning in for the first time, I'm the career strategist, and my name is Adrian, and I'm the CEO founder of Career Agility International. What we do is we help people like yourself who are looking for career success and seeking the career clarity needed to achieve that. And Yen and myself, we have more than 40 plus years of headhunting and career coaching experience. And every Friday morning, we are very happy to share our knowledge and our experiences with you.
Yeah, the Fridays are quite special because we get a chance to interact with our listeners. We get to answer questions. So if you have any questions about any career topic or any questions actually that are career related, obviously, please pop them into the chat and we'll be happy to answer it because we're right now live.
Yeah, and if you're watching this on our replay and retelecast on a Saturday morning, on a Sunday morning, a lot of our viewers actually watch our restreams on weekends as they're running or sending the kids to school. And I think it's a great idea, isn't it?
School on weekends? No.
Not school on weekends, but listening in the background. It beats the heck out of spending like half an hour on TikTok.
Anyway, we do share a series of career related topics, and we discuss lots and lots of career related issues. And so it's always worthwhile to re-listen in on some of the things that we've discussed in the past as well. We now have a huge library, I think, of topics that we've covered.
Yeah,
what are we talking about today?
We are talking about leadership and 5 dangerous and deadly mistakes that new leaders tend to do and how they should avoid it. I don't know. Yeah, and do you remember the first time when we were talking to a bunch of leaders about this? And it's amazing how a lot of times these common issues pop up in the conversation.
I think the biggest thing to note is that the people who come to us with questions as new leaders have their heart in the right place. And sometimes there is a bit of a gap and a mismatch between expectations and execution. And so there's always going to be a little bit of that bumpiness, and occasionally that comes up as one of the topics. And so we've whittled it down. Having filtered everything out, we've come up with 5 that we want to talk about today. But of course, there's more. But
Oh, lots more, and lots of the
yeah.
mistakes I've made myself along the way, along my journey. And
The issue is whether these are deadly in the way that they are dead,
they can
or
kill you.
is it just genuine mistakes which are
Or
fine?
boo-boos, right? Boo-boos versus mistakes that can derail you. You see,
Yeah.
the thing about it, Yan, is that when many times our clients, if you remember, just early this week we held a seminar, and our clients were saying that they didn't feel ready to jump into a leadership position. Or maybe they're already a leader, but they're not that big a leader, or maybe it's the first time they're moving from individual contributor status to a people manager position, and they feel they're not ready, and as a result, they overcompensate.
Or sometimes it's really a matter of having been thrust into something without, I guess, without being over mentally prepared for it. They know it's coming. They know that the next jump on hierarchy is going to take over something, and they're a little bit concerned. And I think rightly so, because the fear, I think, or the concern keeps us better prepared. It helps us to think a bit more prepared.
And stay sharp, right? Stay
Yeah,
sharp.
and that's okay.
And
So it's good that you're thinking about. It's good that the leaders that we had a seminar for were asking such questions. So that's a good thing.
yeah, and for one of the first mistakes which a lot of times new leaders do is they tend to take on too much. They're a bit adventurous, and they want to prove that I'm ready for it. You made the right decision, boss, in putting me in this, and then they start taking on different projects, project 1, project 2, project 3, because they want to make a change. And how is that dangerous?
I think it's more yes, sometimes they take on too much, but also sometimes they want to push too fast. Because they've come in, they've got so many ideas, they've already thought about it, there's so many things they want to change, but they forget that the rest of the team is not ready to run as fast or are not ready to make that change with them. So they find themselves charging up the hill, carrying the flag, but they're all alone. And
Where's
the team is
everybody?
like, there's no one to catch the baton in the next round. They've run up a little bit too far, too fast. Yeah, and inadvertently ostracize themselves. Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes if you take on too many projects at one go, you can't focus, and then you fail. Not because you are incompetent, but just because you don't have the bandwidth or don't have the
Yeah,
support.
overstretched.
Just overstretched, and that's dangerous. Overstretching, even for a yoga / Pilates buff like you, you're always very mindful of not overstretching, isn't it?
I'm always overstretched and it hurts. I'm always in pain. It's not good.
But
So speaking
that's
of
why-
taking on too much, I
Yeah.
just wanted to add, right, that we're not saying to the new leaders who are listening in, we're not saying don't run hard. We're not saying don't push. We are saying that you want to take a step back and be strategic about it, and prioritize and think about the big things that will help you move the needle. Do that first, and then show the roadmap, a reasonable roadmap to your leaders, so that you get the support and buy-in from everyone else around you.
Yeah, so we had this case where we had a client who just assumed a very huge regional position, and prior to that, he was managing a very small team of 2 or 3. So this position is regional and it's quite large, and he wanted to prove himself. So he took on, instead of taking the 3 projects which he could do very well, relatively well, he decided to take on 6 projects, 3 plus another 3 which he identified. At the end of the day, what happened to him was that he did those 3 well. Okay, exceptionally well. The remaining 2 were mediocre because he couldn't focus that much time on it, and the last one failed. And what did the leaders remember him for? The
fail.
last failed one, right? Ouch. So
I think that's tough. And just to argue for and debate for the other side, sometimes being available, things get thrown to you anyway. Perhaps one of the things here shouldn't be telling leaders not to take too much, but teaching leaders how to say no, or how to say no nicely, or how to deflect and push things back where they belong. So, as a new leader, and of course, you're trying to prove yourself, and then your own bosses come along and go like, oh, here, there's this other thing. Why don't you take that? And then there's this other thing, and I'd like you to also offer other plans for the office, and that's a bit too much. I think it becomes you become everyone's catch-all, and in fact, if anything, the art of drawing boundaries,
Yeah.
the art of learning to say no, that's
Mhm.
a skill that we focus a lot on, isn't it, during our career
Yeah.
mastery program?
Correct. So that's why, if you are a young leader and you're moving into a new role, we are launching our fourth intake for our career mastery program, where we teach individuals like yourself who are still learning the ropes in terms of getting promoted, or if you've been recently promoted into a leadership position, how to ease into that position, how to shine, and how to fly. And if you're not in that position yet, our career mastery program and our dozens of clients who have gone through that program successfully, they've all reported that they've been able to enjoy a much better visibility, salary raises and increments and everything. And and even the partnership with us, it's helped them a lot in their journey. So go do ask us about our career mastery program, because we do train on things like this. And interestingly, Ian, talking about that client of ours who did the 6 projects instead of the 3. After he learned how to refocus, of the 6, he basically, the next round, what he did was he was able to manage his expectations and his boss's expectations, and just focus on the elements and the projects which were important and critical to move forward. So it's all about decisions and choices, isn't it?
It is. And I think it's also important to communicate well. It's not just about setting expectations. I think everyone knows that.
Yeah.
Everyone knows about setting boundaries. In fact, it's so easy to say, here, go network. It's one
Go
of my
go
pet
go go. Tell us.
it's one of my pet peeves, right? Where the world says, oh, how do I resolve this problem? So easy, just go network for it. How do I find my next job? Go network. How do I manage? Oh, just learn how to say no, or learn how to draw boundaries. The devil's in the details, isn't it?
Yeah.
So during our courses, during the workshops, again, it's not about telling you things you already know. It's about giving you the contexts, and the skills and the strategies that go beyond that, right? So
Yeah.
there are many phrases that you can adopt, or there might be, sometimes you just need to discuss it, sometimes you need to talk it out, but we give you the frameworks for it.
Yeah, and one thing about what we always say is your career is a long game. So don't try to be too ambitious. Don't try to be too adventurous at the outset, especially if you're learning a new the ropes at a new division, a new business, or a new team. Uh, Take it one step at a time. And I know you want to shine, okay, but don't be too adventurous. Don't bite off more than you can chew, and be strategic in what you're biting as well. But what you're biting off.
I like to say, go ahead, be adventurous, try new things, or you never grow. And if you have to fail, I think fail fast.
Yes,
So
that's
I,
right.
I, I don't always agree with you there, because we're not telling the world to be lazy.
Oh, of course not. Of course not. Folks like you and
You
me,
know,
never lazy. We work very hard.
we're so
Yeah.
lazy. No,
Yeah.
yeah, but you're right about working smart. And if you go out fishing for a whale and you catch that whale, you've got to have the team behind you to help you to carve it and to eat it.
You know, yeah, talking about lazy, just a side note for all of you as well. I used to have a mentor. Okay, he was really funny. He said, there are people who are lazy, okay, and people who are smart, okay,
Mm,
and there are people who are lazy and people who are not so smart, okay. So the people who are lazy and not smart, now these are the guys these are the guys that are the slackers, okay. But the people who are lazy and smart are the innovators. So because they will figure out a new way, better way of doing it. Be an innovator, be someone
right.
who's
I
not
agree.
yeah,
I
just
mean, if
choose.
you if you have repetitive tasks and you're able to automate, go for it.
Yeah, I
Do
know.
it. Yeah.
That's what I do. So okay, yeah, be adventurous, but not too adventurous, but be smart about it, and that's what the whole idea about not taking on too much is all about. And what's the next thing we want to talk about is sometimes when you get into a new leadership position, you try to be too nice because you don't want to be, you want to be a people pleaser.
Yeah, especially if you inherited a team, and in that team are people more senior than you, and you. Okay, we all know, right? Just to share a quick story, when I had a new leader at one point, this is many years ago, and I knew that that was the only time I could to ask for to ask for favors, because I was turned down by the previous leader, and this was a request for my training to be subsidized by the company.
Oh.
So when the new leader came on board, I'd already finished the course, and I said, oh, hey, I've done this course and I think it was very helpful. Can you put in a request for me to have a subsidy on it so that, the company pays some? And he actually said yes. And he helped to have half the cost re-subsidized. I mean, I think it was, and okay, so as a new leader, you come in and one of your top performers is going to have an ask. Your answer generally will be, let me see what I can do, right? Because you want to start off on the right foot with the people in your new team. Sometimes that's a very tough place to be in, but
Yeah, I know. And sometimes you lean over to the other end and be a people pleaser. I mean, it's okay to on the yes on the smaller things, but some people want to lead by consensus, lead by democracy, and that's where and they don't, and as a result, they don't want or don't dare to make the tough decisions. And leadership is all about taking the tough decisions and living with the consequences.
I think it's a very tough place to be in, to be respected, but also to be liked. And that's always going to be tough. And I find that when there are leaders who are trying to be everything to everyone, you end up pleasing no one.
Yeah.
That doesn't help anyway. So your stakeholders are going to be pulling you in all those directions, right? Because they all have different agendas.
Yeah.
So who are you going to please? Do you go look after your people, or do you look after the people above you?
True, that's a very tough thing to note, and do you want to be loved or do you want to be feared? Like what Iron Man Tony Stark said in the first movie, right? How about both? But sometimes.
What did he say?
Do you want? Is it better to be loved or feared? Something like that. And he said, why not both? So, but ultimately, I think that the first tendency, if you become a new leader, especially if it's your teammates, where you were once colleagues with them, and suddenly you're elevated to a new role, and it may be uncomfortable to boss people around, not boss, but to tell people what to do and everything, and especially if you know that they are not particularly, you don't particularly like that particular thing. So you're not being nice, and if you end up being a people pleaser, no work gets done. In the end, what happens? Your next on your head's on the line, right? Your next on the line.
This is tough, and it's a transition, and during that time, it's helpful if you have other outsiders to guide you through it, like a mentor or somebody who understands the situation, so that you can limit offending people. You can minimize stepping on the wrong foot, things like that, So during the transition period is when things are always going to be a little bit rocky, and you're kind of feeling your way around. And my take is always, it's always going to be easier if you travel that journey with someone more senior than you, who can help you to, I guess, reflect at the end of the day, or plan for the following week, or just to talk things out in a safe place, because you cannot.
Sometimes
you
be
very careful about who you talk to.
Sometimes you can't talk to your bosses about it, or you can't talk to your internal staff about it. So so that's why within a safe confessional external third party, that's why our clients come to us just for sessions like these to get a calibration, I would say, whether or not they're being too nice or whether they're being overly harsh.
And it's helpful for them to unload as well, because otherwise it percolates in the brain, then you don't sleep. It's not healthy.
And just like that lady, the business leader that you're coaching right now, she there's so many things happening in the organization, but which she sees, but it doesn't register, and the bigger implications are not there because she's still a young leader. And by the moment she shares with you, oh, my big boss did this, and you're going like, oh, whoa, this means blah 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 blah, and so having someone who's outside the game, a dispassionate third party who's been there and done that before, helps a lot, doesn't it?
It gives perspective. It helps them to also see things that, it's something that you may not know until you've been there. And if you speak with an outsider who's been there, that helps. It helps a lot.
My biggest problem actually as a leader has always been number 3, the assertiveness thing. Since I was young, and I think as a young leader, all the way up to now, even sometimes I do lack the assertiveness. I'm a bit of pushover sometimes, which I have to catch myself saying, "Okay, Adrian, stop being a pushover." I don't know. What can you recommend for someone who's pushed over a doormat, being stepped on? Okay, not that I'm a doormat, but what can you advise someone who's always being pushed around all the time, or allowing
You
themselves to be
know,
pushed around?
yeah, a lot of the skills that we're talking about here are intangible, and it's not something that you can just learn and have that knowledge. That it's hard because you can't necessarily execute it when the situation arises, because these are soft skills, and these are skills that will be even more in demand as you get up the food chain and become more and more
Yeah,
senior in your
yeah,
work. So for assertiveness training, obviously the talking helps, and then there's the affirmations that you must do, and then there's a whole host of other things that I would have put in place as I coach my clients on, just infusing it into their DNA so that they don't become the doormat, right? And then to give them useful, I guess, executionable to dos. But it's all in the mindset shift. It's very hard. But I like to say one thing: it gets easier when you get older.
I agree with you on
It
that.
gets so much easier because you stop worrying about what people have to say about you.
Or you
So
worry,
the
just
good
not worry
news,
about what people think about you, right? It's like,
right? You
yeah,
do.
yeah,
You don't stop entirely because we still want to be liked, because
yeah.
that's innate in our human nature. Um, but it gets a bit easier,
Mm.
and I found myself getting crusty and cranky and prickly in my old age. So I'm no longer the people pleaser.
Yeah, well, but one thing about assertiveness is that if you do find that you're not assertive enough, the flip side to it, the solution to not being assertive is not being a jerk or being forceful. Okay,
Yes.
not the flip side to it.
Yeah, that's not
Like
the
someone's
opposite.
having a
Yeah.
cold, you don't set the person on fire. Okay, the flip side to, or the remedy to assertiveness is influencing. Okay, and how do you influence? How do you influence without authority? How do you convince people rather than being assertive just for being being a jerk? You don't do that. That's why
Yeah.
during our career mastery classes, we have one whole module right now in the fourth intake dedicated to influencing without authority. How do you do that? How do you be assertive? How do you even say no without pissing the other guy off or your boss off?
Just to give our listeners a preview, by the way, everything I was saying about being old and all that, what that was, I was kidding, right? It's that's an art of the questioning. So it's in a, just to give you a preview, right? To influence people, questioning techniques, very powerful. And we do a lot of that.
Why? See, I
Mm.
just did a questioning technique. Anyway,
No, that's
why?
just you
What
being
makes you say
your 2 year old
why?
man child.
Why? Why? But why? But why? Shut up already. But why? So, so, so remember, if you have just taken on a new leadership position, okay, and you're
Yeah.
not used to, and sometimes you're not used to the authority that's been given onto you, and
Yeah.
you feel very strange to be ordering people around, telling people to do this, to do that, so much so that you flip over backwards and you be too nice.
Yeah.
We're not saying don't be nice. We're saying don't be too nice. Okay, there's always a flip side to it. Don't be too nice.
Yeah.
And
And don't martyr yourself. No point. Nobody appreciates it.
yeah, I know. And sometimes if you're too nice, people just step over you all the time. So
Yep.
and you become a doormat, and being a doormat, if you develop a reputation for being a doormat, your
You
promotion
get thrown
prospects,
all, but you get
yeah,
thrown all the jobs that no one else wants as well.
yeah, because you do not know how to say no. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, the third biggest mistake is about being more task oriented than people focused. What do you think?
This is tough. This is tough. And I think there's nothing wrong with being task oriented, and there's nothing wrong with being people oriented either. And of course, the politically correct thing to say is to be both. I say that if you are a task oriented leader, to focus on developing things that might help you in bonding with your team a bit better. And if you're a people focused or person, then focus on things that will help you be a little bit more on the ball in terms of getting things done. So yeah, no, it's not an either or situation. It's not very binary that way.
It's not binary, right? Yeah, I agree with you. It's not binary. But sometimes we, in our bid to get things done, we can become a bit too task oriented, focusing on your KPIs, especially if those are stretch KPIs given decreed onto you by senior management, and then suddenly you got to focus it, and then you work everyone half to death. and then people start dropping dead, or they start resigning on you, and then your team longevity isn't there. You're gonna have high turnover. But on the other side, if you're too people oriented, people focused as well, then once again nothing gets done, right? So it's a
So
fine
it's
balance.
yeah.
Where do we draw the
Um,
line?
there's no line. There's no line to
Yeah.
be drawn. And you're familiar, right, Adrian, with the DISC and the MBTI. But anyway, the DISC personality profiling specifically, right? When you think about what you are in your prime, in your normal ideal self, and then what happens when you're stressed. So we working adults in Gen Ys and Gen X's in particular, who are that sandwich generation right now, we're always stressed, and when we're stressed, sometimes things fall through the cracks. And what falls through the cracks? The how was your day? Because seriously, I got no time to ask you how was your day. I mean, I got enough to perhaps care that you're healthy and that your medical condition has sorted itself out. And we're like, yeah, is everything okay? Great, okay, good. Now let's get back to work. I can imagine, if I was stressed, right, that's going to be tough. So I think what maybe we need is to find how to always be as healthy as we can be, so that we can bring the best
Actually,
most
you,
days.
you have a point. You have a point.
I always have
Like
a point.
yeah, you're pointy. So J- Jim Collins, in his great book,
Mm,
From Good to Great, he said something interesting, which I read like 20 years ago, still holds true to today, and he calls it the tyranny of the or. So
yeah,
when people think about very binary, like one or zero, black or white,
yeah,
you tend to forego the other piece. So you don't have
yes,
to be or. You either or are task oriented or people focused. Why not be both?
yep,
You can be both, and you should strive to be both. And just like it's like the left and the right hand. If you're lifting something up, if you do both, use both hands, the task gets a lot easier as well, doesn't it?
exactly. So the politically correct answer was both. Although when I
Mhm.
listened to you on radio yesterday, it was all very left leaning. it was it
Yeah.
was very left
No, that's
leaning,
because that was
and
because that was because I was talking about Elon Musk. Elon Musk is more task. He's going to be more task oriented and people focused. But look, if you
when
want
we
to put a
when
man into space, you have to be task oriented. You have no time to be before people
right,
focused.
yeah. I
Right.
mean, there's a time and place for everything.
And their
Absolutely,
lives on the line. You're talking about
exactly,
people in rockets going up to space. You need to be very task focused, and you can put and being an engineer himself, the task orientation comes out rather than the people orientation. So
right. Yeah, there's a lot more linearity in your thinking. There's a lot more
yeah,
input versus output type situation. Sure. And again, it's a job. It's a job I signed up for. I'm not here to be your best friend.
that's
You,
true.
you know,
We're
if
not,
if
we're
I
not going to
wanted,
hold
if
hands
I
and go kumbaya around
you
the
know, if I
fireplace, right?
wanted, if I wanted TLC, I have family and friends for that, and work is
Yeah,
work, and
yeah,
I'm here to perform my task. Let's get that done.
yeah.
So I don't know. I think you can. And all our listeners can probably concur that I am leaning on the task oriented side. That's always been my go to. Let's get it done, then we can relax.
No, that's true. And ultimately, you are being judged on your task results as well, not just on your people. Even though some companies would prefer the kumbaya around the fireplace thing, but if you're not delivering on your tasks, then
Yeah,
what's there
exactly.
to talk about? You're not going to be there in the next
Yeah,
2 quarters.
I'm not. I don't. I'm not paying you to be my court
Spiritual
jester
counselor.
message.
Yeah,
Although there are some that there's more of the people oriented requirements in HR functions,
mm,
in welfare functions for sure, definitely
hmm
in
hmm
care jobs that have a lot of in the kind of jobs that require you to care for other people. That's a given. So
that's a
I
given.
think I think it's very contextual.
Yeah, that's true. And you have to realize also, the last point, how to scale. If you don't have a team, you can't scale. And that's one of the biggest challenges. That's why you have to take care of your team as well. And you got
Yes.
to make sure they are in tip-top operating condition. And
Yeah.
being tip-top operating condition means that they also emotionally need to be engaged. They need to be in a safe environment to operate in. And when we talk about safe environment, we don't talk about physical safety. We talk about emotional safety.
That too.
We've all
Yeah.
we've all seen people in very political situation, political office politics, and when you don't feel secure, it's always self-preservation. And when self-preservation is at stake, what happens now? You don't play for the team, you play for yourself. When you
Yeah,
play,
yeah.
you're guarded, right?
And in those environments, it's the teams are not cohesive, and that can be very challenging. And that's why it's not an easy thing being a leader,
Have you
trying
ever had
to catch the team
Have
together.
you ever had a situation where the office politics was really, really, really bad? People are backbiting each other.
I have observed it, but I was very happily orbiting on the outside, thank God. And it was a small team, 7 individuals, and the subtexts, the microaggressions,
Wow.
and I was like, whoa. I observed it because I was a consultant, not full time. So
Oh,
um, it was
were there like cat fights?
no, well, they did happen behind closed doors, but it was good to watch, and that's something. Okay, so you kind of can't tear your eyes away from the train wreck,
It's like a train
right?
wreck. Yeah, it's like,
Right.
no, I don't want to see. I don't want to
and,
see.
and
But
that's
I
why
just want to see.
drama is so addictive when people want to watch drama serials, or when they watch the political games. That's why people get drawn to the
Game of Thrones.
storylines.
Yes.
They get drawn to the storylines, right? The drama serials, or the backbiting and all that, because it's fun. But in real life,
Yeah.
it's actually quite
Yeah.
a train wreck
Yeah.
to watch.
Like
I'm
my
happy
wife.
to report though that it's
Yep.
sorted, sort of.
Oh, that's
In
nice.
many years, that the team's no longer intact, but the people are still
But
are still
you're right. No,
friends.
it is the drama can get quite addictive. Like watching a real life tele movie
Uh
being
huh.
played out. You know, it's like my
Yeah.
wife. She's just totally hooked on to this
Korean
Korean.
drama serials. Yeah.
Yeah, this thing about the princess, the empress umbrella. Or what I have no idea what it is. It's like she's just hooked on to it. She's like, okay, no, I'm not gonna get hooked on to that.
I
But
understand. I completely get it.
it's so
Don't
funny.
don't engage, because once you engage, you can't tear yourself away.
Yeah, correct. So and that's very good advice as well, no? Office politics, right? If you just get one foot in it sometimes, one toe in it, sometimes you're just dragged in, it's like and that's dangerous, a dangerous precedence. So you have to watch out and take a step back and just
But at
be
the
super
same
careful
time,
about
if
it.
you don't learn how to manage it, it can eat you up. So you got to be
Yeah,
very careful as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes, correct.
So we've got
So
we cover everything on how to protect yourself from such
yeah,
things.
actually managing the office politics is very key to your survival in the organization, especially if you're in a big organization. So you have to watch out for it. Okay, there are
Yeah.
cues, there are things that happen. That's what we cover in our career mastery program, which is a 6-month program, very intensive but very enlightening on how you can perform better at work and how you can drive your career to the next level. So if you're keen on having all this really great advice, do reach out to us, info@careeragility.org. And we're happy to send you some materials with regards to our course outline, our one-on-one sessions, and our group coaching sessions, and our power lunches as well. So it's a very comprehensive program where you learn and grow together, not just in terms of from us, Yen and myself, but also with the alumni, which is right now about 50 people, okay, in
Mm.
this career mastery program itself. So really unique environment, safe environment, and very nice learning culture as well.
Yeah. Because again, like I was saying earlier, a lot of the skills have to be, I guess, reprogrammed. Not necessarily
These You're right.
just
These are
pick it up.
things.
It's like you
These
can't
are
read it and go, tomorrow I'm going to be
Yeah,
more influential.
but these are
It's not an
things that
overnight thing.
you don't learn in school. Okay, these are
Yeah.
things you don't learn in business school.
Yeah.
So
You
instead
have
of
to
spending
talk
like
it out and learn it through a
yeah,
mentor. Yeah.
yeah,
Or a
these are the
program.
real world mentoring, real world lessons to be learned from both of us who are the career experts, as well as the senior members of the alumni, and the senior members in your team as well, senior executives. So lots of fun things to learn. But one of the biggest thing I always find very hard to do for myself, even okay, is to accept feedback. It's
Yes. It's very
painful,
tough.
no matter how old or how much wiser I get over the years, or at least I hope I get wiser over the years. Receiving feedback, I always like,
Receiving feedback is tough. I found I'm still sharpening my skill on how to give feedback in a healthy and effective. Because sometimes it's effective, but it's not kind, and that's tough because feedback is that person needs to know it, but it's very hard for us to give that feedback,
yeah.
isn't it?
When is the feedback a criticism? or a complaint disguised
Yeah.
as a feedback, right? It's like,
Right? Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So
And
it's
so,
that,
as a new leader, one of the things that we do cover is the art of giving and receiving feedback. And you think, oh, it's just a matter of me communicating the area that the guy needs to improve on. No, I think it's a lot more than that. It's a lot more than that. So that's tough.
yeah. And you see, yeah, it's one thing about what you do with the feedback, how do you handle feedback. It's another thing to take it a step further to ask for feedback. Ask your
Yeah.
bosses, hey, how am I doing? And whom do you ask feedback from? Do you ask feedback from your bosses, your colleagues, your clients, or your teammates? And that's important. And it's not just whom you ask. What do you ask on, and then what do you do with the feedback, and what sort of feedback do you ask?
It was like, oh, is there any area I can improve? Yeah, what you wear to work. I'm sure that's not very
Your
helpful.
your deodorant, or maybe some mouthwash. You want some feedback? Yes, just some mouthwash. It's like,
Right. Gosh, I found that to be one of the hardest feedback to give on hygiene factors. Yeah.
how do you do that even though? It's just so personal, right? It's like,
Very, very tough.
okay,
Yeah.
have you heard of this invention called the toothbrush, or Christmas,
Mouthwash.
or Secret Santa time? Secret Santa time, you get one extra gift from somebody else. You open up, it's deodorant and mouthwash,
Mouthwash.
a year supply of mouthwash, and a note saying, until
Yeah.
next Christmas, I'll give you another set. This is whole year supply.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
And
It's
I
just,
think when you ask for feedback from someone, I think you need to be also prepared that the feedback may not be communicated the best way. Because not everyone's going to be all like effective in their communication style. But always remember the spirit with which it's given, and that it
yeah,
is intended for your own improvement. So even if it's a criticism, sometimes if it's a criticism, but if you take it as a feedback, then you're the healthier person.
yeah, that's true. And sometimes you need to know when not to give feedback as well. So it's like both persons on having a nervous breakdown, 3 tasks, and, oh, by the way, your breast stinks. It's like,
Yeah, no, yeah. And that's
oh,
tough. I think that's tough. It's very
but
tough for a leader
but
to
on a
know
more
when is a good
serious
time.
note, on a more serious note, it's that there's a right time, because if the time is not right, your feedback is a criticism, and if you give a feedback in front of everybody in the office, then that's
Never.
not then it becomes a criticism. It becomes a very personal attack,
It
rather
becomes
than,
an attack. Yeah, yeah,
yeah. So
yeah.
so there are it's an art about feedback, when to give it, how to give it, when to ask for it, what do you do with it, how do you evaluate the feedback? Is this feedback valid or not valid? Should I be putting weight on it? These are all important things that help you to grow.
Yes.
If you think
Very,
about
very
it,
true.
it helps you to grow.
Very tough. Yeah.
So yeah, feedback.
Feedback.
One of my good friends, and mentor as well. He used to tell me, feedback is a gift. I don't know how to take it when he says feedback is a gift, because sometimes I don't want to. It's something I want to return that gift. I don't want it.
Yeah, that's right. Well, so
But
feedback, it's a gift, but it's got a lot of subtext in it and a lot of other weighted emotional baggage. And I don't
yeah,
know. I think it's important to have clarity of mind for that. Yeah.
yeah, it's not easy, right? And the final thing about that young people that don't do is, they don't get enough help. They don't ask for help when they're stuck. They don't ask their bosses for help. They don't ask their mentors for help. They may not even want to ask their juniors or their team members for help, even though their team members might be the experts at doing it, and they want to go on their own.
Yeah.
And that's dangerous, isn't it?
So this is a skill, the art of delegation, but not the art of the Tai Chi. So there's a difference between delegating and deflecting, or giving away things that, Teflon desking is the other term for it, right? The art of the pushback. It's not about that. It's really about optimizing the skills around you, maximizing other people's time so that you can do more yourself. So it works. It works definitely with new leaders. Please don't do everything by yourself.
Yeah, and it's a journey that you don't have to go alone. Okay, it's what they say, that it gets lonely at the top. Yeah, and it does. Okay, because suddenly you're a team leader now. You can't confide in your teammates, because otherwise it could undermine your position in the team. If you tell your teammates, actually, I'm not very
That's
secure
right.
about this, you can't. So you need to talk to someone, talk to someone above. Okay, but that's what leadership's all about. Get a mentor, and a mentor is someone
Yeah.
who can tell you whether or not you're on the right track, or whether or not some adjustments need to be made, or maybe perhaps even an overhaul of your leadership style.
Yeah, and the more you speak to such individuals, you don't have to have just one mentor. You can have multiple mentors. You know what to look for. You know what to ask. You get better at your game as well, and that learning the learning curve becomes less bumpy,
Yeah,
and then you smooth out your journey a little bit. You become more effective. You sleep better. You're healthier. People like you more.
yeah,
I mean,
and
if
you
you
get
have to
it.
work, you might as well make your work pleasant.
Yeah,
It
that's
doesn't
right.
have to be a battle every day.
No, it doesn't have to. Not at all. Not at all. So it can be enjoyable. Okay, leadership is enjoyable. I've always enjoyed leadership. Since I was a young kid, I've always wanted to lead, and leadership comes naturally to me. But learning to become a good leader was not easy. Okay, wanting to
And
lead was always there, but
I
it's not
think a
easy to
lot of
learn.
the things that we are sharing is not just about leading, but it's also, um, I don't know, the word leading seems to be leadership seems to be overused, and everyone's a leader, or they use words like servant
Yeah,
leadership, and I get a little bit I'm philosophical and also a bit cynical about how the term is overused. I think these are all just skills that I think
yeah,
everyone's going to benefit from, and if the team gets all these skills as well, it's also good for them. So if you are a young executive finding your way in the world, if you are newly promoted, finding your way in this new world, even if
yeah,
you have been in a position of a leadership for a while now, the career mastery is still going to be helpful personally, because I feel, because we've had other clients who have gone through this program, who are already in very senior positions, but don't forget that they themselves have to lead teams skip level downwards, and
yeah,
upwards they have more layers. So it's kind of like, if you think about a large, I guess, network diagram, it's very, very complex, because organizations are complex. So I think this
yeah.
program fits not just young leaders, it fits
Yeah, I
everyone.
think I think it helps you to perform better at the next level. But I want to bring up this thing about servant leadership. Okay, there's one phrase which I think they should just die. This phrase should just die. Okay, servant leadership. What is servant leadership? Come on, you can't wash my feet lah. It's like this servant leadership. You can make
No,
coffee
serve you
for me lah,
coffee.
boss.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
boss,
wipe
come
your
make me coffee.
table.
You want to be my servant. I think that's the corniest thing. Servant leadership is most unmissed. So much so that whenever I ask people, what's your leadership style? And doing an interview, and they go, oh, my style is to be a servant leader. I say, oh, goodness, you're not supposed to be not supposed to be. It's overused, and I hate to say it, it has overly strong religious overtones. I wouldn't say undertones.
Mm,
Okay, so which
mm.
is not bad. Okay, if you are interviewing for a church role, okay, but what is servant leadership? And if you have a very good positive spin on it, please drop it into the comment box and tell me what servant leadership is. It's corny, okay. It's like saying, I'm honest and have integrity. Yeah, of course, everybody says that. No, but what are you doing to prove it? And servant leadership to me is you got to show me. You got to show me. And a person who
Yeah, I
says he's
don't
a
know.
servant leader, and a person who says he's a servant leader is probably not a servant leader, but someone who wants to appear humble when he's not. I being
It's
an
the it's the
SC,
same
I'm
with
sorry.
it's the same with people who go, I am not political,
I'm
right?
not political. Yeah, correct. Don't.
So I
I'm a
don't
servant
know.
leader, so please don't use.
I am a big believer in action speaking louder than words,
Yeah.
and it's up to you to demonstrate your ability. Anyway, back to my original point about career mastery. It's a really, really helpful, I guess, program to help you to love
Mhm,
the job you might hate, or to
mhm,
help you to have a healthy point of view and perspective about the world of work, so that you
mhm.
don't get overly emotional, or you don't get overly distressed or taxed,
Yeah,
or either end of the spectrum. The idea is that work is work. Let's have a healthy respect for it. Let's
yeah.
manage it so that we got time for more important things. We've got
Mhm.
So that we can go pursue the TLC that we need outside of the workspace.
Outside of
You can
workspace, yes.
right. So yeah, I'm quite philosophical about it because work is work. Don't let it eat into your life. And so if you have the tools to manage your career and you have mastery over your career, then life becomes so much better because we have to worry about things like
Absolutely agree.
inflation. We have to worry about things
Yeah,
like, education, PSLE results, among
PSLE
other
results.
things,
I was
and
about to say
so
that.
many other things. So many other
Yeah,
things to worry about. Last thing we need is to worry about work. So let
yeah,
us help
exactly.
you take care of the work part, then you've got more time to take care of the life part.
Exactly. And on that
My
note,
pitch
we
is
want
done.
to, that's your pitch is done. Thank you very much. And on that note, we just want to share with you that we're coming to the end of the year. And what's really cool is that we are about 30 days away from Christmas. And even as
30
we are approaching
days.
the end of the year, 30 days, it's about there. Ish.
I'm just
Even as we're
counting down to the
approaching,
end of the World Cup.
oh, I thought you were gonna say end of the world, but end of the World
End
Cup,
of the
okay.
World Cup.
End of the world.
Because as I shared with you, my family members are volunteers and heavily involved in some of the screenings that are happening around Singapore. So
Mm-hmm.
at the local community center nearby, yeah, I've got family members staying up the whole night. So I'm getting up at 4:30 in the morning just to give them a ride home. I've got
I'm just
iPads.
glad.
My
I'm
iPads have
just glad
iPads.
I'm just glad my neighbors are not that soccer crazy and screaming, or maybe just not yet. So, but I'm
Soon,
not
I
soccer
think.
crazy. So for those of you who are soccer crazy, go ahead and enjoy yourselves. And the homework for you, I guess, for all our viewers and listeners there is think about next year in 2023. It's a year that's going to be fraught with both opportunities as well as threats. Okay, threats because especially if you're in the tech sector or in other areas, we're not out of the woods yet. So there will be changes up ahead. Okay, just be mindful of it and how to be more career agile in avoiding those, but also great opportunities because there's a lot of demand in the talent space for demand for talent. So you need to know how to get there, and even in your own organizations, your companies are growing. How do you grow along with your company? So the big homework for everybody here today is what can I do to better myself in 2023? So much so that the 2023 December me is leaps and bounds by light years ahead of the 2022 December me. Okay, what can I do about it? What can I put in place? What programs can I
Yeah,
sign up for? What TED Talks can I watch? What accreditation I can take? What skills can I develop?
agree. Agree to everything. Those are tough questions to
Mm,
answer, of course.
it
Yeah.
is. It is.
What will
And
the 2023 me say to the 2022 me now? Oh, you should have done this, or you should have done that.
yeah,
And I think this
so
is a good time because everyone's thinking about resolutions. Which, by the way,
that's true.
I don't agree. I don't subscribe to
You were
resolution.
never a resolution person. I know you're never a resolution person. So me too, because my resolutions fall apart 2 days after New Year. So no point making.
Exactly. Same.
I
Same.
intend not to eat too much snacks. Well, yeah, right. You see me
Never gonna
chewing a whole
happen.
bunch of crisps. So okay. So anyway, have a great weekend ahead, everybody. The weather's getting cooler and
TGIF.
nicer and wetter. Stay dry, stay warm. And of course, once again, if you have any career questions, drop us an email at info@careeragility.org. Always happy to respond to the emails. Our teams are always on standby. Have a great weekend ahead, everybody. Take care
Bye.
and bye.